I want to give a big shout out to WeTV for sponsoring today's video. More on that later.
You know, in hip hop, you take a couple years off to do this or do that. Motherfuckers always want to write you off. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I ain't one of them type of motherfuckers you can just write off. I'm still young. I still look young. I still look every bit of 18, 17. So, you know, it's a young man game. So I'm still here. Let me get my zones. Let me get my zones. Like white man can't tell, let me get my zones. Little homie back at it, cause it's money to get. Grown man in the room, yeah, I'm talking my listen. Crew, fuck, that's how I tell it. My squad full of young fly fellas, rock sky dwellers.
What up, guys? Your boy Quake, and I'm back with a brand new episode of What Happened To. And for this episode, I wanted to talk about an artist that actually grew up in hip-hop as a kid, who had the sort of Michael Jackson experience, and it's rare to find someone that actually grew up in hip-hop and is still around. And as you can tell by the video title, I'm talking about Bow Wow. What happened to Bow Wow? And I've been meaning to do this video for quite some time because Bow Wow's career is not only long, but it's very unique because he actually grew up in hip-hop. And as of now, he's actually looked at as a legend among various other artists in the culture right now because he's been in it so long. Even though he's so young, it seems like he's very old, when that's not really the case. He's only in his 30s. And in today's time, a lot of people tend to clown Bow Wow because they think he's not the superstar that he once was, and he was huge. We're going to go over that career part of his peak where literally he couldn't go anywhere without someone screaming his name or going crazy. So let's get into how he actually got into the music industry at such a young age, his peak, and what he's up to now. Bow Wow was born on March 9th, 1987 in Columbus, Ohio. He was raised with his single mother. His father, unfortunately, wasn't in his life because he was an alcoholic, and whenever Bow Wow would go over to his house, he wouldn't enjoy it. So he eventually ended up telling his mother that he doesn't want to go over there and see his father. Initially, as a kid, Bow Wow says he wanted to be a comedian, but as time went on, he started gravitating towards gangsta rap and knew at the age of 5 he wanted to be a rapper. He initially went with the rapper named Kid Gangsta because he would always listen to gangsta music as a kid. At the age of 5, what ended up happening was Dr. Dre was on tour, which was his Chronic album tour. He ended up stopping by Columbus, Ohio, and that night, someone called Bow Wow's mother and gave her tickets to take Bow Wow and her to the concert. And the reason why this person gave him tickets was because they knew that Bow Wow really liked rapping and making music.
He was discovered by Snoop at a concert that you took him to, but what I found most interesting is somebody called you who knew at 5 he rapped and said, take him to the concert tonight. Correct. To this day, you don't know who that is, right?
I have no idea who that was.
But tickets were left for you? Backstage passes and the like?
Mm-hmm. Tickets and backstage passes were left. And they were like, we want him to meet Snoop. And I'm like, I had no idea who it was.
AJ Johnson was the tour host for that Dr. Dre concert that night. And what he did was basically called out the audience and said, who wants to be on stage with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and display their skills? Bow Wow's mother held up Bow Wow really high, and AJ Johnson selected him out of everyone. He went on stage, and then Bow Wow started spitting some rhymes. The whole crowd went crazy and started throwing money, and for some reason, this impressed Snoop Dogg, so then he invited Bow Wow backstage. And Snoop Dogg immediately saw the star power in him and decided to bring him on for the rest of the Chronic tour, and even gave him the nickname Lil Snoop.
I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, and the Chronic tour, I came to Columbus, Ohio. And, I got on stage and I did my thing, and next thing you know, Snoop wanted me to go backstage. So I went backstage, he talked to me and told me he wanted me to fly to LA, and I flew to LA, and the music industry just opened up the doors for me, and that's how it started.
After the tour was over, Snoop Dogg decided to change Bow Wow's name from Lil Snoop to Lil Bow Wow because he didn't want people comparing him to himself, because Snoop Dogg's image was very gangster and more vulgar, and they wanted a different route for Bow Wow, What ended up happening, it was a couple years went by. Snoop Dogg ended up having issues with Death Row Records because Dr. Dre ended up leaving and Snoop Dogg wanted out as well. So he ultimately didn't end up signing Bow Wow to his label because he was in a bad label situation and didn't want to bring Bow Wow onto that as well. Plus, Death Row Records had a more aggressive gangster approach to making music, and Snoop Dogg wanted Bow Wow to have a more friendlier route with a more mainstream crowd, and he decided that the perfect person for this was the one who made Crisscross huge, which were kid stars, and that was Jermaine Dupri. But while on Death Row Records, Bow Wow did actually a couple of tracks. He also appeared on Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style album. He did a couple of skits on that album. He appeared in the beginning of the Gin and Juice music video, and he appeared on a track called After 3 with Corrupt, and he actually does his thing on this track. Go ahead and Google it on YouTube. It's pretty dope. With things not working out over at Death Row, Lil Bow Wow went back to school, and eventually Snoop Dogg got in contact with Jermaine Dupri. Bow Wow's mom took Bow Wow out of school and flew him out to Atlanta to meet Jermaine Dupri. And Jermaine immediately saw the star power from Bow Wow and signed him to his label So So Def. After that, they started working on Bow Wow's debut album, and Bow Wow says they finished the album within 2 to 3 weeks, and the first single was officially released on August 8th, 2000, called Bounce With Me. This track would end up peaking at number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100 and was used in Big Mama's House movie. After the huge success of his debut single, they decided immediately to release his debut album after releasing just one song. And on September 26th, 2000, Lil Bow Wow's debut album Beware of the Dog was officially released. The album debuted at number 8 on the Billboard 200 and sold 101,000 copies within its first week, and as of now has gone 3 times platinum. But Bow Wow says this album actually sold around 20 to 30,000 copies within its first week. So I don't know what the official numbers are because Bow Wow says 20,000, but the research that I'm looking at says 101,000. Regardless, back then doing about 100,000 copies in the first week was seen as failure, and the label was initially going to drop him. But then they realized Bow Wow was having insane reaction from fans. The label noticed that fans would crowd shopping malls that he would go to. Anywhere that Bow Wow went, his fans would scream like crazy. And they realized that this was something like a Michael Jackson effect when he was a kid. So they continued pushing the album. So they selected the second single off it, and on October 17, 2000, they pushed this song to radio called Bow Wow, That's My Name, featuring Snoop Dogg. This track would end up peaking at number 21 on the Billboard Hot 100. And the music video for this track was the first music video to be retired by BET's 106 & Park because fans just kept voting for it, and it stayed at number 1 for so long that BET had to retire the video because it just kept taking the number 1 spot all the time. And this would be the birth of Bow Wow's name, Mr. 106 & Park. They kept pushing more singles, and on January 27, 2001, they pushed the third single, Puppy Love. This track would end up peaking at number 75 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then they pushed the fourth single on February 21st, 2001, called Ghetto Girls, and this track peaked at number 91 on the Billboard Hot 100. Following this, Bow Wow became a household name. He even went on tour with the huge pop group NSYNC and toured around America, which got his name even bigger. Then immediately they started working on his sophomore album. And on November 5th, 2001, he dropped the first single, Thank You. And this track was paying homage to his fans for supporting him. It ended up peaking at number 93 on the Billboard Hot 100. Following this, they immediately dropped his second album called Doggy Bag on December 18th, 2001. The album, despite not having a huge first single, sold 320,000 copies in its first week and debuted at number 11, and as of now, it is double platinum. A couple months after the album's release, they started pushing the second single called Take You Home on March 12th, 2002. This track ended up peaking at number 72 on the Billboard Hot 100. And 2002 was a huge year for Bow Wow because he ended up landing a lead role for a movie, and this would be a movie that would forever change his career and be stamped in hip-hop history forever, which is Like Mike. The movie ended up getting released on July 3rd, 2002, and broke box office records, ended up making double what they spent on the budget. They spent $30 million and ended up making $62 million. And this is when Bow Wow says he got more mainstream in terms of even white people accepting his music and listening to him. Jermaine Dupri felt like Bow Wow can officially start selling out stadiums. Most people doubted Bow Wow and Jermaine, but they ended up selling out stadiums because this movie catapulted him to mainstream success, way bigger than the music did. So he started selling out arenas that would fill in 20,000 people a night, and even sold out the Madison Square Garden twice, which is hard to do. Not many rappers have ever done that. However, though, in 2003, Bow Wow would decide to take a different creative step in his music career. He actually bumped heads with Jermaine Dupri on creative differences. So this would be the first time Bow Wow would end up working on an album without Jermaine Dupri's input, and he decided to drop the Lil from his name. Initially, it was Lil Bow Wow. He changed it to Bow Wow because he felt he had grown up. He's not Lil anymore, and he felt irritated because there were so many rappers with Lil in their name. So he decided to drop it. He was officially grown. He had departed ways with Jermaine Dupri. T.I. ended up coming on this album and ghostwriting for him, and this would be the first time Bow Wow would actually start to write a little bit of his rhymes. So he dropped the first single off his new album called Let's Get Down, featuring Baby, on June 24th, 2003. This track would end up peaking at number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100, which would end up being Bow Wow's highest charting single at that time. He then dropped his third album called Unleashed on August 19th, 2003. The album debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200, which once again was his highest charting album, with first week sales of 129,000 copies. And as of now, the album has only gone gold. They ended up pushing the second single, My Baby, in 2003, and this track ended up peaking at number 42 on the Billboard Hot 100. After not being happy with the performance of this album, Bow Wow took a break from the music and decided to focus on the acting once again. And in 2004, he landed a lead role in the Johnson Family Vacation movie, and then in 2005, he landed the lead role for Roll Bounce. And in 2005, it would seem like everything musically would go right for Bow Wow. He would finally end up getting back with Jermaine Dupri, and he started working on his fourth studio album. He dropped the first single from it, called Let Me Hold You, on March 11th, 2005. And this track would end up being his highest charting single to date. It ended up peaking at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. Following this, they dropped his fourth studio album on July 12th, 2005, called Wanted. This album ended up debuting at number 3 on the Billboard 200 and sold 120,000 copies in its first week, and ended up going platinum. Following this, they pushed the second single off the album called Like You, featuring Sierra, on August 6, 2005. This then would end up becoming Bow Wow's highest charting single of his whole career. This song would end up peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and individually as a single would end up going platinum. Then they pushed the third single on December 21st, 2005, called Fresh as a Miz, and this track would end up peaking at number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100. At this point, Bow Wow was once again the hottest thing when it comes to teenage artists. He ended up bringing Chris Brown on his tour and various other artists and introducing his audience to them. After the tour, he immediately started working on his fifth studio album. So on July 7th, 2006, he drops the first single off the album called Shorty Like Mine, featuring Chris Brown. This track would end up peaking at number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 and ended up going platinum. Then on December 19th, 2006, Bow Wow dropped his fifth studio album, The Price of Fame. The album ended up debuting at number 6 on the Billboard 200 and sold 262,000 copies in its first week, and as of now has sold over 600,000 copies. They then pushed the second single on February 13th, 2007, called Out of My System, featuring T-Pain. This track ended up peaking at number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100 and went platinum. And by the way, this is one of my favorite tracks from Bow Wow. If you've never heard Bow Wow's music for some reason, this is the track I suggest you go and check out. Then they pushed the third single on March 2nd, 2007, called I'm a Flirt, featuring R. Kelly. But the weird thing about this track is this track ended up becoming R. Kelly's track, and it ended up featuring T-Pain and T.I., but on the charts, it was credited as Bow Wow and R. Kelly's track, and this track ended up peaking at number 49 on the Billboard Hot 100 when it was Bow Wow's track, and peaked at number 12 when it was R. Kelly's track. Following this, in 2007, Bow Wow decided to do something different and did a collab album with Omarion called Face Off. The first single off this album was called Girlfriend, and it was released on October 12th, 2007. And this track ended up peaking at number 33 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then on December 11th, 2007, they dropped their collab album Face Off. This album ended up debuting at number 11 on the Billboard 200 and sold 107,000 copies within its first week, and as of now has gone gold. Then in 2008, Bow Wow would try something completely new for his career that he had never done before. On November 22nd, 2008, he dropped his debut mixtape, Half Man, Half Dog, Volume 1. Then in 2009, on February 10th, he dropped Volume 2. Then in 2009, he would end up working on his last album as of now, which would be his 7th album. On January 14th, 2009, he dropped the first single off the album called You Can Get It All. This track ended up peaking at number 55 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then on March 31st, 2009, Bow Wow dropped his 7th studio album called New Jack City 2. The album ended up debuting at number 16 on the Billboard 200, and within the first week, it sold roughly 31,000 copies. After this, Bow Wow finished his contract with Columbia Records and was officially an independent artist. So now he was looking to find a new home to create his music and release his albums. There was much speculation as to where he was going to sign. At one point, it seemed like Bow Wow was going to sign to 50 Cent's G-Unit Records. At another point, it seemed like he was going to sign to T.I.'s Grand Hustle through Atlantic Records. And at another point, he was looking to relaunch the So Def with Jermaine Dupri. But ultimately, he ended up signing with Birdman's Cash Money Records. The deal was officially announced on August 17th, 2009, and just a couple of days later, Bow Wow decided to give fans a new mixtape called The Green Light on August 24th, 2009. And in 2010, he kept the Green Light mixtape series going. On January 3rd, 2010, he dropped Green Light 2, and on October 3rd, 2010, he dropped Green Light 3. In the midst of dropping these mixtapes, he also shot a new movie called Lottery Ticket as the lead role. Then in 2011, he kept releasing music, and on August 19th, 2011, he dropped Green Light 4. Then on September 27, 2011, he dropped a mixtape called I'm Better Than You. Then in 2012 would be a full year where Bow Wow doesn't drop any new music from mixtapes or albums, and it would be because he announced on October 1st, 2012, he was going to be the new host of BET's 106 & Park. However, he did drop 3 singles that year, and to me, all 3 of them were fire. One of the first singles is a track called Sweat featuring Lil Wayne. This track did chart on the Billboard Hot 100 and peaked at number 48. The next track was called Better featuring T-Pain, and this is my favorite out of all the 3. This track didn't chart on the Hot 100, but damn, it is a very good track. If you haven't heard it, go ahead and check it out. And the last track is called We in the Club, and it was produced by DJ Mustard. Now, mind you, around this time, DJ Mustard's sound hadn't become the main thing in hip-hop yet, so Bow Wow was really ahead of his time when it comes to the sound in music, and I feel like that's the reason why this track didn't perform as well as it should have. About 2 years later, DJ Mustard became the hottest thing, and this sound became the in thing. So Bow Wow was just way ahead of his time when it comes with this track. Despite being the host at BET's 106 & Park, he still managed to release music, and in 2013, on March 9th, he dropped the 5th installment of his Greenlight series, Greenlight 5. And that would be the last project that we got from Bow Wow in quite some years due to a lot of things. He would end up focusing on his acting career and TV career. He would end up hosting BET's 106 & Park for a little over 2.5 years until it got canceled by BET on November 14th, 2014. Following that, he ended up being in CSI Cyber, which was a new show that first aired in April 30th of 2014. He would end up having a reoccurring role on that show before it would end on March 13th, 2016. In the midst of that, he also announced that he was leaving Cash Money Records on May 9th, 2015, and that he would link up with Jermaine Dupri and Snoop Dogg, which were the original people who found him. After getting his label situation right and finishing the CSI show, he focused finally back on the music, and in 2016, he dropped a new collab mixtape with Soulja Boy on October 25th called Ignorant Shit. Then in 2017, it would be a huge social media year for Bow Wow because of one thing called the Bow Wow Challenge. Bow Wow was out and about promoting his new TV show called Growing Up Hip Hop Atlanta, and on Instagram he posted a picture that someone found out wasn't a real picture of his private jet. So then everyone started clowning him and calling what he did the Bow Wow Challenge. And of course, people online were making fun of him and then doing their own memes of the Bow Wow Challenge, pretending to have something they don't actually have. And it was very funny. Bow Wow himself enjoyed it. Besides the music, Bow Wow has also been working in the movies/TV section of his career. And as we know, throughout the years, he's been heavily involved in that and had huge success in that. One of the TV shows that he's been a part of since 2017 is called Growing Up Hip Hop Atlanta. If you aren't familiar with Growing Up Hip Hop in Atlanta, it basically chronicles the children of hip hop legends that were from Atlanta, and of course, Bow Wow is one of them. And the show has been a huge success. They started filming season 4 in 2020 with all the crazy things going on from the pandemic to the BLM movement, and of course, it impacted their lives and friendships. So you're going to see that all on the new season. And here is a quick preview of what to expect on season 4.
We gonna send them girls around the shots. What's your sign?
Aries.
I might get her pregnant tonight.
Bow just thought.
Do you know what's going on? It's on the internet. I might have a son.
What's wrong with you?
I'm terrified.
I think the next step is the DNA.
So as you can see, season 4 is going to be crazy, and Bow Wow is going to have to deal with a lot alongside Waka Flocka, the Brat, so on and so forth. The new season of Growing Up Hip Hop premieres Thursday, January 7th at 9/8 Central. That's Thursday, January 7th at 9/8 Central. You can go to WeTV.com for your local channel number if you don't know what number WeTV is on your TV. And subscribe to WeTV's YouTube channel. The link is in the description below for more on your favorites from Growing Up Hip Hop. While appearing on Growing Up Hip Hop, he still managed to release new music. And in 2018, he dropped 4 new singles. The first one was Made You. The second was Yeah, which is actually a very dope track. If you haven't heard that, go ahead and check it out. Then he dropped a new track called Whoa. And then the last track was called Broken Heart. Then in 2019, he got back to dropping mixtapes and dropped the final installment of his Greenlight series called Greenlight 6 on May 14th, 2019. And this would be the last full project we've gotten from Bow Wow as of the making of this video. Then in 2019, all we got was one new single called Wish I Never Met Her, mainly because he was going through some personal problems and still filming his Growing Up Hip Hop Atlanta show. On top of that, he appeared back into Fast and the Furious for Fast 9. Then in 2020, he dropped 2 new singles, one called Met on Collins DM, and the other single he dropped was actually just recently on November 29th, 2020, and this single is called Rarries and Porsches. In 2020, alongside dropping music, he also focused on the television side of his career and appeared on Fox's The Masked Singer. And he got up pretty high in the ranks when it comes to the show. He ended up in 3rd place on the show and was revealed as the Frog, which was a huge look. On top of that, in the TV section, he just announced that he wants to take over BET as the CEO. He tweeted out, "My only dream job now is I want to take over BET. I want a high position. I was blessed to host, but now I want an office. I want to run and come up with content for the network. I know what they're missing. All you have to do is listen to the people. BET forgot what made them hot, the music, breaking artists, etc. Music shows that mattered. Now it's like Lifetime, just a bunch of sitcoms. Do you know the only time there's music on BET is when there's an award show? Think about that, like 3 times out the year. That's crazy." And then he goes on and tweets that he wants to bring back 106 in Park, Rap City, and various other classic BET shows that people loved. So it seems like Bow Wow is going to go more into the television section of his career and deep dive into that. And it makes sense because obviously in 2021, right in the beginning of 2021, Growing Up Hip Hop Atlanta, he's going to star in that on January 7th. So it just matches with everything that he's trying to align with. And I've always felt like he's done very well when it comes to TV shows and movies. So I'm excited to see what he brings to us in 2021. And that's it for this episode of What Happened To. Bow Wow obviously has had a huge career, and at the point of his peak, he was one of the biggest child stars ever. What is your favorite Bow Wow track? What's your favorite Bow Wow album? And what's your favorite Bow Wow movie? I'm definitely going to be checking out the comments to see what you guys say on that, because he's got a lot of choices. For me, obviously, for my favorite movie, it's Like Mike. And one of my favorite Bow Wow tracks is Out of My System with T-Pain. Also, let me know in the comments what artists you guys want me to cover next on this What Happened To series. That's it for today's video. If you guys want to support this channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $1 a month or more, you can help support this channel further. A link is in the description below. Like, comment, share, and definitely subscribe. I do videos like this daily on hip hop news and much more, so definitely subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at QuakeGW. Like us on Facebook, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.